Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
All right, from the movie by the same name, I guess, Sugar Man. Did you guys see that? The movie about Rodriguez? It was absolutely something I would highly recommend you do. Um, and This is a musician who was in Detroit and he made an album back in the early 1970s. It got washed away and it became an amazing hit in South Africa while he didn't even know it. He never got paid for it, and he worked as a janitor his entire life. And 25 years later or 30 years later, he gets to perform to an amazing audience in South Africa. It's a great movie. You got to watch it. So, how's everybody doing? You ready for a big night of South African wine? I am so pleased that you decided to join us tonight. This is a really amazing topic, and I'm not sure, just by show of hands, how many of you have actually been to South Africa? Anybody? All right, cool. I highly recommend that too. It is just an amazing place to go. The dollar is very strong there, and it's a great value proposition. And there's just so much to do, so much to see, so much history, and it's really an amazing story. So I want to welcome you all. Anybody have any comments or questions before we get started? My name is Ian Blackburn, and I got started as a wine educator back in 1995 because I wanted to teach myself about wine. There was really no place to go. So I started learnaboutwine.com, and we started teaching classes. I was working in the wine industry as a salesperson, and I worked my way through many different streets of my career there, and made wine education what I do. We are now streaming on Facebook, and we've got a nice audience tonight drinking wines of South Africa, along with the importer and the producers. We're going to taste some epic wines from South Africa tonight. I am very, very proud to put this event forward because I truly believe in the quality of the wines, the quality of the people, the quality of the statement that's in each bottle. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed as much as I do. And let's get started. We've got a couple of people that we want to introduce first. First, let me get started with Greg. Greg is with our charity, and I'll add spotlight to you, Greg. How you doing, buddy? Where are you at today?
I am in North Hollywood at home.
Ah,
I'm actually moving, Ian. I didn't tell you this. I'm moving to Las Vegas.
okay. Well, I noticed a starkness in your apartment that I've never seen before. So I was going to ask you, are you traveling? What's going on? So you're
Yeah,
packing up?
end of November. I'm packing up. I'm moving to Las Vegas, so we'll have to talk.
All right. Well,
But
usually you have some stuff all over your walls because you do amazing concerts and you're involved in the music industry. And Greg has been our conduit to the charity world, and hopefully we'll continue that in Vegas, right, Greg?
yes, we'll figure this out. We've been doing it for how many years? 14, 13 years together. So we'll continue.
Awesome, man. Well, great, great. I'm excited for you.
But we have a
And I
great.
always need a place to crash in Vegas, so that'll be good.
Come on by. It'll be 10 minutes from the strip.
Oh, cool.
But we have a great auction tonight. All the money raised, as always, goes to Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. Ian, thank you for donating that Magnum. I don't think I've ever seen a Beekeeper Magnum from you. So that's a rare piece. We don't have a lot of wines, but we have some strong wines. So give it a look. There's 3 lots of wines. And we actually, just as important, we have a very cool trip to a South African safari for 6 nights. And we've been doing this trip. We've been offering this for about 5 years now. And everybody that goes is blown away how amazing the trip is. So give that a look throughout the night. I'll be throwing links into the chat box. So give it a look. The auction runs through tonight and ends tomorrow night at 9 p.m.
Thank you so much, buddy. Yeah, we don't raise $1 million on a show or anything like that, but we just continue to give a little bit each time. Some events a couple thousand, some events 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And we just really appreciate your effort, Greg. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As we like to say, those singles and doubles, at the end of the year, they definitely add up to a nice check for Children's Hospital.
Yeah, for sure. And if you've never been to Children's Hospital Los Angeles to see the work that they're doing for children's cancer research, it'll change your life, and I would highly recommend you think about doing it. So it's a good date, potential love partner. Get them to take them to Children's Hospital and see how they react before you marry them. That'll be an important thing. All right. So, Greg, we're going to get started with the wine now, and then we'll have you kick in. Make sure you put the link into the chat box so that everybody can see the auction if you didn't notice that there was an auction. It will stay open until tomorrow, right, Greg? Was that what we just said? 5 o'clock?
Tomorrow, 9 p.m.
9 p.m., okay. So, and there are various different things on the auction tonight besides wine. So let's get started. Our friends Sean and Teal. Sean, are you there, buddy?
I am, yep. How's it going, everyone?
All right. I'm going to spotlight for you there, and Greg, I'll say I'll take the spotlight off if I haven't already. Hopefully that worked out. Sean, how you doing tonight?
Good to see you again, yeah?
Good to see you too. We did this today for the trade, and we had wine buyers and country club F&B and wine shop F&B and restaurateurs all over the place. And so now we get to do it for the great audience that's here to really learn and love these wines. And I'm sure Teal's out there. There she is. Aha. Add spotlight. There we go. Got you both. This is the dream team here. We get to work with one of the best importers in the business of South African wines. You may recognize Sean also from a prior Zoom. They also import a little bit of great French wine, but a really classy act called Cape Classic. And back in the early 2000s, about 2002, I got to travel to South Africa, and I ended up going to a large number of Cape Classics portfolio before I even realized there was a Cape Classic. And it was just, I had to do some more stuff with these guys and find out more. And there's some brands on here tonight that I haven't been to yet, but I've been really taken by the wine quality. And I hope that everyone else agrees with me. This is just one of the best values, dollar for dollar, amazing wine stories, and I hope you guys enjoy. So, Sean and Teal, how are you?
Doing great, and it's great to virtually meet everybody. I hope you're ready for some fun South African wines this evening.
Outstanding. Everybody got an email that gave everyone a chance to print out the tasting sheet. You can do it this way, or just let us guide you. We're going to start off with a winery in South Africa in just a second, but let me first tell you one event that we want to get way out ahead of, because we didn't plan this into our calendar, is an event that we have at the end of October called Stars of Merlot. And really what this is there's a large number of Merlot producers that are feeling pretty ignored. And they came to us and they said, we have this Merlot month of October, and they're doing a bunch of promotion nationwide about different events that are created around Merlot. So I said, if you guys can come up with some great Merlots, we will definitely get involved. And boy, did they come to the table with some great Merlots. So check out the Stars of Merlot. It went live today, along with a couple other future Stars tastings. They all went live today, so you guys get to take a look at it. We created this new pricing bracket. There's early bird pricing, and this is extra early bird. We're calling it egg pricing, and it's a super early price category to get as many people on board as possible. There just could not be a better value offered to you. It's basically being produced at cost. And so I hope you guys will join us for the Stars of Merlot. Take a look at it, because there's a $250 Merlot that we're going to taste that night. and that's going to be pretty awesome. Along with all the others, they're all going to be good. But wow, it's really stacked up to be a pretty dynamic night. So now back to our main subject, Cape Classics. Sean and Teal, who's going to take it away?
Yeah, I can start quickly, Ian. Just to give you everyone a quick background on who we are. So Cape Classics, we're the largest South African wine importer in the US. We do about a third of all South African wines. My name is Sean Kutsia. I'm the Director of National Accounts, and Teal is our Regional Manager for the West Coast. So we're both going to be walking through this presentation with you this evening. Please, if you have any questions, either just shout out or write in the chat box and we can answer them along the way. You know, I love to make these things fun and have a good time as opposed to us just preaching to you. So let's do that. And yeah, just to give you a little history of South African wine before we start. So South Africa is considered a new world country in terms of the wine world. So, you know, we lumped in with New Zealand, Australia, California, Argentina, those kind of countries. But if you look at us historically, we're very much more old world. And the reason being is that South Africa's first harvest was in 1659. So 1652 is when the first European settlers hit the Cape. And basically the reason that they stopped in Cape Town is that they were going on to the east to trade spices and different things in the east. So they set up a little trading station in Cape Town, and quickly they realized they wanted to make wine for the sailors going past. So 1659 was the first harvest, and that was in Constantia. And if you look at our wines, since we've had such a long winemaking history, they have this sort of 1 foot in the new world, 1 foot in the old world. What you'll get is you'll get the power of the new world. So we've got great sunshine, a lot of those new world characteristics. You'll taste fruit and power behind the wines, but there's also an underlying elegance, minerality, restraint to the wines. So we like to say new world fruit, old world elegance in South African wines. And I think you'll taste that this evening. And we'll let Teal go ahead with the first wine, Baton Sauvignon Blanc.
Cool.
Wonderful. It's great to see you all this evening, and really excited to start with a Constantia estate. So we'll be starting with the Baton Verwachten Baton Sauvignon Blanc, the 2020 from Constantia. So as you can see on the map, we'll be covering a couple different wine regions today, starting with Constantia, then moving to Stellenbosch and then Swartland. So with Baton, they are really well known for their mineral driven whites. So Constantia, of course, since it sits right near False Bay, it gets a lot of maritime cool climate influence. It is just south of Cape Town as well, so very close, and a beautiful wine region that's very green and lush. Seeing a lot of that cool climate influence from the ocean. And this region is particularly known for the elegant mineral driven whites and Sauvignon Blancs, Chenins, and Chardonnays. So today we'll be tasting the Baton Sauvignon Blanc, beautiful expression of Sauvignon Blanc from a very old estate. So this is a beautiful photo from the estate in Constantia at Baton. So long history in Baton. So the winery was established in 1769.
So can I interrupt for just a second?
Sure.
I have a little, we have just a little bit of a, I don't know, something we do on a regular basis here, just to toast each other and be able to say hello. So I just want to raise a glass to everybody, get you going. Please, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoy the beautiful wines. I have tasted through them multiple times, and I think you're going to love them. But cheers to your health, everybody. All right, Teal. Rocket. Now, I got to tell you, a lot of times when I look at winery pictures, you always see a shot and you think, okay, so they found a good angle to take that picture, you know, and get that. This is like one of the most photogenic wine regions on the planet, and it really is this beautiful. And so this is just, it's so close to the ocean, and it's just mind-blowingly gorgeous and raw.
It is gorgeous, and for those of you that have visited, hopefully it'll bring back some fond memories, and for those who haven't, hopefully you'll add it to your bucket list. Very beautiful wine region. And definitely cheers. I hope you've already started drinking the Sauvignon Blanc. It's quite a special treat, and from this beautiful old estate. So they were established in 1769, so a very long time ago, and is one of the oldest wine estates in South Africa. So Baton was part of the original Constantia estate that was founded in the 1600s by the first governor of the Dutch colony of the Cape. So there's a lot of old, rich history that we'll talk about today across our various different wineries. And I personally love, when there's estates that have been making wines for centuries, but in the New World, it's definitely very rare to find, which is a big reason why South Africa is quite a gem of a wine region. So beautiful estate, long winemaking history there, some beautiful vineyards as well. Sort of a fun fact, so there is, they actually use free running baboons in the vineyards to do a sort of a natural green cropping of sorts. So baboons in some areas of South Africa are viewed as vineyard pests, as they do eat the grapes, but baboons also can be used earlier on as like green cropping, which is sort of very unique to South Africa. And as well, so this beautiful estate, you're tasting today the Sauvignon Blanc, but they also do make an incredible Chardonnay. The Sauvignon Blanc comes from the vineyards that have beautiful decomposed granite soil type, all from dry farmed vines that are between 7 and 21 years old. And Baton is short for Baton Verwachten. So Baton Verwachten is Dutch for beyond expectations. So the goal of the winery is really to produce amazing mineral-driven wines that will exceed your expectations. And that, coupled with the beautiful old history of the farm, really producing some incredible wines. So getting into the nitty-gritty, we do have a wonderful video from Lars, the owner of the estate, that we'll get into. But first, we'll talk a little bit about the vintage. So you're trying the 2020 vintage.
They're trying the 2019. We are now moving into 2020 as we speak, but you guys are in the 19 vintage with the consumers tonight.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So the 2019 vintage, and there's been several vintages in a row that have been seeing a lot of drought and drier conditions. Although Constantia, being one of the cooler climates, does tend to have longer vintages and growing seasons than some other parts of South Africa. But overall, having just some cooler climate really helps with Sauvignon Blanc and producing some very vibrant and, fantastic acidity that you'll find in this wine. All from beautiful hand harvested grapes. And Lars will talk a little bit more in detail as well with the 12 hours of skin contact that we see with the Sauvignon Blanc, and then followed by a wonderfully long and cool fermentation in stainless steel over the course of 3 weeks. So it's pretty rare to find white wines that are fermented, doing cold ferments. It's a very more slow version and process in winemaking to really allow all the flavors to properly develop in their own time, and really helps to speak to the terroir and the beautiful components of the Sauvignon Blanc done in the cool ferment. So now we'll turn to Lars for a little bit more detail.
And I want to thank Sean and Teal for arranging for all these personal messages from the winemakers.
Day, my name is Lars Mark. I'm the owner of Baton Verwachting, and just like to taste with you my Sauvignon Blanc 2020. In America, we label our wines as Baton, so we don't use the full name Baton Verwachting. It's just very, very complicated. But Baton Verwachting means beyond expectations. And if you look behind me, the trees are still not in foliage yet, so we're in the last days of winter. And the building behind me is our 250-year-old wine cellar. It's got the traditional thatch roof, and it's our wine tasting center for visitors who come and want to taste our wines. So just as an introduction here, our Sauvignon Blanc, that's the 2020 vintage. You can see it's actually quite a dark yellow color, and which is more associated with Chardonnays. But we do skin contact for about 8 to 12 hours. And during that period, we extract a lot of color from the skins, we extract a lot of flavors from the skins. But the main reason why we do that is because of our acidity. It sits too high. And over the 8-hour period, the potassium brings down the acidity naturally. and it makes the wines just a bit more softer. And our wines sit then at about 7 grams of acidity. The sugar levels are very low. They sit on about 3 grams for bone dry wines. And that is what, in my opinion, makes Constantia special, is that we have a very long, slow ripening period. We are wedged between the two oceans, the Atlantic Ocean and Indian Ocean. It keeps our climate really very cold and moderate. And we ripen out all those typical green herbaceous Sauvignon flavors, and we go then over to the yellow fruit flavors, which are more the melons, the yellow apples, the Cape gooseberries, which I find a lot more charming. Makes the wine very, very accessible and almost unique, because most Sauvignons around the world tend to be more on the greener herbaceous side. But just because we have an abundance of sun, but a very cool climate, it allows us to bring out that special character, which I really love in Sauvignon Blanc. So if you taste the wine, I'm looking for roundness, I'm looking for richness, but I'm also still looking for that fresh acidity, which is through us quite a nice minerality that carries throughout the wine. And you taste the wine, it's got a good body weight. Normally a lighter wine you will taste for about 15 seconds. This one we taste for almost 1 minute. So it really carries a lot of depth without being overwhelming. It stays charming, and it stays fresh for a long time as well. So the lifespan of our Sauvignons tend to be 3 to 5 years. I love them. I prefer them in the 2nd and 3rd year. So I'm hoping you find our wines interesting and enjoy them as well. Thank you.
Excellent.
Day, my name is Lars Mark. I'm the owner.
There's a second video with Lars here in just a moment, but we just want to share just kind of a look again at everything that's going around his vineyards, and that those mountains behind the, is that what's the range right behind Sean?
That's the Constantia mountain range. So on the other side of it is basically, it's called Hout Bay. It's a really popular fishing village, incredibly beautiful. So it's on the way to Cape Point. And that's what's amazing about this winery, is you've got basically the Atlantic and Indian Ocean on both sides of the winery, and the breezes come from both oceans. The Atlantic a bit cooler, Indian a little bit warmer.
Yeah, whenever we find a great wine region, we always note the geological features or geographical features, ocean, river, mountains, what is creating the character of that place. And this has got a combination of all of them. I mean, it's really a greatest hits of what creates great wine. Last video with Lars.
We are at about 250 meters above sea level, and behind me you see the False Bay, which is the Indian Ocean. The prevailing summer winds are our southeast winds, and they blow straight over the farm and keep the farm at really moderate temperatures. We're looking at about 23 to 25 degrees Celsius. And then also Constantia experiences high rainfalls. If you look at the Mosel in Germany, it's about 600 millimeters of rain, which is comparatively high. Then if you go to London, a city not known for great weather, it's about 800 millimeters of rain. In Constantia we have 1,000, so very high rainfalls. A lot of my colleagues joke with me and say I should be planting rice in vineyards, but obviously the main rainfall here comes in winter, and this is the last days of winter that we're experiencing now. We also have very old granite soils, about 500 million years old. They've decayed beautifully, and it allows the roots to penetrate the soil very deeply. So all our vineyards are dryland vineyards. We don't need to supplement with water. We don't need to manage water. And everything that the vines have is being given by nature. So what we are looking for in our Sauvignon is perfect growing condition. Suffering Sauvignon tends to also lack great fruit. You find other varietals do well with tougher conditions, but Sauvignon likes to have everything perfect. Because of our high rainfall and because of our moderate temperatures, it allows us to ripen the fruit for a very long period. We're about 2 to 3 weeks later than most other regions in the Cape. And what we're looking for then is to ripen out all the green herbaceous flavors that Sauvignon normally carries. And then we're going over to what is known as the thiol characters, and it's more comparable to the flavors to yellow apples to melons to the Cape gooseberry. So we're looking for a very charming, round, and passion fruit driven Sauvignon. And that is what a cooler climate can offer you if you get it right.
Nice. And I love that.
We are
the way that they, the vinification, maturation, skin contact, just really a cool way to bring this wine to establish this house style that's very consistent. Every year I go to this wine, check on it, and it just maintains this consistency, elegance, and polish, and it's intense, and it's even won some awards like Wine Spectator Top 100 Wines of the World on a number of occasions. This particular Sauvignon Blanc, and I think on our website it's going to be less than. Right after the show is over, all the prices on the website go down just a little teeny bit. If you get excited and buy the wines, I'll adjust your prices for you before the show. But right after this event, you're going to see prices drop just another 10% just for 24 hours, so you can stock up on any of these wines. But this wine right here is less than $15, and it's insane. Sean, Teal, anything else?
Yeah, it truly is one of my fantastic, favorite go-tos for Sauvignon Blanc, especially in the summertime. It's so vibrant and lively, and really, you get a lot of bang for your buck as well with South African wines in general. But this is, really well crafted, artisanal production. They really have a lot of care and attention to detail that goes into the vinification process, the farming process, and truly some beautiful Sauvignon Blancs. It's a great everyday go-to, but also fantastic to bring over to share with friends and family as well.
One more word of caution here. If you do like this wine, we have about 20 bottles in stock, and it is possible that we could sell out tonight, and I'll keep selling it because there's more coming in, but it won't be here for maybe a week or two. So if we do run out, we'll let you know, but we'll keep the price and we'll honor that, and we'll get it to you when it does arrive. But this congestion with the containers and everything has created a lot of problems for importers, and I've been trying to get a little bit more of this wine for the past 2 weeks, and it's just not been working out. So I usually keep about 10 cases of this wine in stock, and we're almost gone at this point, but a big chunk is coming to me. We're going to move into Stellenbosch now, Teal.
Yes. So now transitioning to Stellenbosch. So Stellenbosch is definitely one of the most famous wine regions in South Africa. It's really recognized as one of the educational and research centers of the winelands, and has many amazing estates. So this is located just east of Cape Town, if you're not familiar, and is really known for a lot of the classic varietals and best known for its reds. But we're going to be trying some fantastic whites made in Stellenbosch as well. So next up is the Rotz family wine, original Chenin Blanc, the 2019. Which I'm really excited to share with you today. Another fantastic go-to refreshing white wine for summertime from the legendary Rotz family wine estates. So what's amazing about Rotz family wine, so they're really truly focused on crafting some of the best world-class Chenin Blanc and Cab Franc that you can get in the market. And legend has it that the Rotz family was the first family to bring over Chenin Blanc and Cab Franc from the Loire Valley into South Africa. So just as a fun fact, and I'll turn it over to Bruver himself, the winemaker, and we'll hear a little bit in detail about this wine from him.
And by the way, he's not speaking in front of a green screen. This is his backyard.
My name is Bruver Rotz. I'm the owner winemaker of Rotz Family Wines. Today we're standing here overlooking the Drakensberg in KZN, overlooking the beautiful Champagne Castle and Kafkin Peak. But the reason I'm here today is to tell you a bit more about Rod's Family Wines. I started that in 2000, and my idea was just to specialize in Chenin Blanc and Cabernet Franc. There are so many wineries that do a lot of different red wine and white wine varieties, but for me it was a question of rather do less, focus on Chenin and Cabernet Franc in red, but do them as best as I possibly can. What's more important is to tell the story of the South African soils. I farm in the southern tip of Africa, and I want to tell a unique story of where my grapes come from, the unique soils we have here, and convey that through our wines. So that was the idea with Rod's Family Wines. As far as winemaking techniques are concerned, for me, far more important than that is that we tell the story of the soil that the grapes are grown in. And my little farm is in Stellenbosch, and Stellenbosch is divided up into 7 wards, and our ward is called Polka Draai, like in polka dot. Draai means corner. It's the smallest and the newest little ward in Stellenbosch, and we work with decomposed dolomite granite soils, which shows that wonderful minerality, freshness, great acidity in both red and white, in Chenin and Cabernet Franc. And that's what I want to show. There's a lot of granite soils all over the world. What makes this so unique, this small little pocket in Stellenbosch, Polka Draai, so unique, is that we have dolomite granite, which is very unusual. And that is what I really want to show you, is how unique our wines really are. The wine that you will taste today is the Rod's Original Chenin Blanc. And to describe this wine in one word, it's a very pure expression of Chenin. Growing on this dolomite granite soil, it shows that whetstone minerality. It has that lovely citrus and lime. It also have that yellow fruit, that pineapple, golden delicious, pear, peach blossom. But it has this wonderful weight in the mid palate, but at the end you have that beautiful acidity, that citrus lime minerality coming through with that beautiful precision that you get from this granite soils. So original, the name comes from the original flavor of Chenin. 100% Chenin, 100% dry, 100% stainless steel fermented. So I try to show the original flavor of Chenin Blanc when nobody has tampered with it. That is Rod's Original Chenin Blanc 2019. That's in your glass. Enjoy it.
So this is Ez Breuvert that talked about, a very excellent expression of Chenin Blanc. Really the focus with Rod's Family Wines is producing and crafting not only terroir-driven wines, but varietal-driven wines. And the original Chenin is a fantastic expression of just that Chenin Blanc, not tampered, as South Africans say, unwooded, so only stainless steel ferment. Also cold fermented from beautiful hand harvested fruit. The 2019 vintage was a very interesting vintage as well. Sort of the tale of 2 different harvest conditions. First, having some fantastic good weather, and then second, starting to get a little bit more cooler climate weather that isn't, you don't normally see as much rain in that time period, but it definitely created a really interesting vintage and some beautiful wines. Hopefully you're enjoying the Chenin so far. It truly is a beautiful expression of Chenin, has some lovely yellow apple and almost some pineapple as well as some zesty citrus notes. It's really quite a fun item to showcase, especially if you are looking for that fun go-to varietal for the summertime that is terroir driven from the beautiful, Table Mountain sandstone, as well as their gorgeous decomposed dolomite granite. And they do, for this particular wine of the Chenin Blanc, they source the Chenin from 2 different vineyard sites of both of those different soil types, vinify them separately, and then once they're ready for blending, they blend them and then bottle them. So from a combination of both trellised and then bush vine and dry farm vineyards. So some truly, fantastic vineyard sites creating quite a beautiful Chenin Blanc.
Both these wines, the Bayton and the Rats, have the Stelvin closure, and I think this is exactly where the Stelvin closure should be used, is in a white like this, that you want to preserve that freshness, and it really does slow down the advancement. No oxygen being passed through, and you can keep a bottle of this on all year round for the next couple of years. These wines have nice slow maturation with that Stelvin, so don't be afraid to serve a 5-year-old Chenin Blanc or a 4 or 5-year-old Bayton Sauvignon Blanc. These things will be flying for years.
Would I also recommend Chenin for food pairing? I always say to people, it's got sort of the best of Chardonnay and the best of Sauvignon Blanc. So you've got the roundness and fat of Chardonnay, and you've got the acidity of Sauvignon Blanc. So it'll hold up to your kind of richer, creamier foods. Also go great with seafood. It's a much better option than Pinot Grigio, I believe. And if you do see Chenin Blanc, generally you're either going to be drinking it from Vouvray in France or South Africa. And they are more and more popping up on wine lists. So definitely give it a try when you see one next.
Spectacular. Let's see what I got here. So we're going through vinification and maturation. Anything else there, Teal?
Yeah, we covered a lot of it, but just really well crafted. Both of these wineries really honing in on like boutique, artisanal, well crafted wines. Which is interesting, both doing cold fermentation as well as several months of lees aging that helps give it beautiful texture now, but also helps in the aging process as well if you were to open up one of these in a couple of years from now. We also have been getting some fantastic press with this wine as well. So the 2019, what you're tasting now, received 91 points Wine Advocate and 90 points Venice. It is certified sustainable as well and vegan friendly. A true beautiful expression of Chenin. I hope you guys are all enjoying it so far.
A couple of storylines that we've been following for the past couple of years. I remember in 2019 they had container ships bringing water to South Africa because they had run out of water. Right, there was such an extreme water shortage that the water was being parceled out. And so that's how dry a vintage and vintages they have had recently. And these wines are dry farmed, so pretty extreme conditions. And I think it actually kind of has a plus side to the quality of the wines, but downside is that they tend to have smaller harvest with higher quality. Also, the other storyline we've been watching during the pandemic, basically South Africa has kind of gone on and off of selling wine or even allowing people to buy alcohol. And I guess currently, as we speak, that those restrictions have been lifted, but 3 separate moments they've restricted the sale of alcohol to the residents of South Africa. So these wineries have been entirely left to fend for themselves on the international markets. And so really they've counted on the US market, one of their largest markets, to support them. And I think we've responded pretty well, but they still, need the support and need people to think of South Africa a little differently. And that's why I kind of want to have high praise for everybody that's tasting with us tonight, because there's a lot of people that have had some pretty different experiences with South African wines. And I think after you've tasted through a flight of wines like we're tasting tonight, you can't really deny how good these wines are, not just for the price. These wines compete with wines that are twice as expensive in different parts of the world. And I really think we have all become ambassadors for South African wine after tasting great wines like these, because a lot of people think that they're not that good, or they went to the wrong store and bought the mass-produced low-end stuff that kind of works against the grain of telling these type of stories. And every country has those. The cheap Shiraz from Australia ruins the entire market. The cheap Malbec does that for Argentina, and the cheap wines of Chile buried the high-end wines for a long time. But those wines are really successful in the stores at the low price points, and that's why it happens. But we all have to kind of look to a higher level of quality, and these wines will check those boxes.
Absolutely. And next up, we will be tasting the Glenelly Estate Reserve Chardonnay, the 2019. We have a couple great videos from the winemaker as well as from the owner of Glenelly. And, really across the board, there's many reasons why we find that South Africa has very unique wines and a unique story, but it's rare that there's not that many countries in the world where you can find wines of this quality for the price point. Easily to find a wine or Chardonnay, for example, that we're trying now, for this same quality, it would be easily 2 to 3 or 4 times the price if it was from California domestically. So you get some incredible wines for a fraction of the price, and beautiful stories as well with the long history of winemaking in South Africa. So I will turn over to some of our beautiful Glenelly videos to share with you all.
When I think of Glenelly, I think of the beautiful landscape that we have here, but I think first about my staff. It's more of a family life that we're sharing, more than a business. I don't consider Glenelly like a business.
Glenelly covers 123 hectares, of which 57 hectares planted on the vine. The rest of our land is devoted to olive trees, fynbos and other indigenous plants found only in the Cape. We follow a biodiversity approach as the agricultural sector depends on the sustainability. These farming methods should protect the long-term productivity of the land to ensure ongoing productive agricultural systems.
In line with our approach to the environment, we also have a philosophical view on our approach to winemaking. We try and do everything as natural as possible in the winemaking process. So I took the opportunity when we built this new building to use natural yeast, the yeast that is in the air and in the environment and on the bunches, to do the fermentation process. I believe it gives the wines a different texture, a unique texture, and it also ties back that our philosophy is to express as much of the vintage and the terroir of the property as possible.
Like I said earlier, I think I wish it was just a little prettier there. All right, we got one more video from the winemaker. He's really going to rub it in.
Hi, wine merchant team. This is Nicholas here in Glenelly Estate in Stellenbosch. Lucky it's a beautiful winter's day. We're about halfway through pruning, and we're very glad to be part of your tasting in LA today. So my name is Nicholas. I'm the grandson of May de Longzin. May de Longzin purchased Glenelly Estate in 2003. And this was the time she was still running a very, very famous chateau in Bordeaux called Pichon-Longueville, Comtesse de la Lande at the time. So you might have picked up from my accent that I'm French. So we're a French family making wine here in Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch is about 50 kilometers east of Cape Town. And as you can see, we're surrounded by beautiful mountains, and all of our vineyards here, all of our 60 hectares of vineyards are planted on slopes, and we predominantly producing red wines from Bordeaux varietals and Syrah. But today I know you're tasting our Chardonnay, which is also something we specialize in. So please enjoy the tasting, and I hope we'll have the pleasure of your visit in the coming months. Bye-bye.
Seriously. Beautiful place. And one more time.
Hi there, you're joining me, Luca Quinnigan, in the vineyards of Glenelly, and what we're showing you here is a little bit of our philosophy, because we're converting across to organic viticulture. We're showing our wonderful cover crop that's growing between our vineyards at the moment, which is a mixture of clovers, you've got your grains, but you've got a lot of lupins and things like this here, where you see we've got sweet peas growing as well, and that's all adding to the soil and giving a lot of health to the soil. And ultimately this comes through into our wines later on, because we believe in the philosophy of the farm is to do everything as naturally as possible and really get the expression of our site coming through into the wines ultimately, and that the vintage must give its fingerprint as much as possible coming through in the wines. And this is all leading to its way by having the different cover crops working here with your lupins, your radishes and your grains and everything adding to it into the future. Hi there, joining me Luke. I'm the winemaker of Glenelly Estate, and I'm here to talk about the Estate Chardonnay. It's a wonderful wine that we have here, and the 2019 vintage follows the super successful 2018 vintage. And it's all about the expression of its site and the terroir that we have on the property here, as I said earlier, in the vineyards. So what we have here with the 2019 is a wine that is made in a style to express our site, and where these vineyards are planted is at the lower slopes of the property and more alluvial soils, which are a bit higher in mineral content. So you've got that minerality coming through in the wine, and it's also expressing what the variety is all about. So with Chardonnay, you want a lot of those citrus aromatics coming through, and it's especially a lot of lemon, lime, things like that. And this 2019 vintage has abundance of that coming through. Yet, it's got a lot of texture on the palate, and that's so vital when you're pairing it up with foods. And that texture is coming from its period and time that it's spent in oak and lees contact, that's broadening that palate and giving you that wonderful roundness that you have, yet you've got the acidity to give you length coming through in it. And this wine, it's all about really celebrating what wine's all about and having friends and family around a table and enjoying it with great food and company. I hope you enjoy this going forward, and I hope you have as many fond memories with this wine as I have.
So I hope you all enjoyed the beautiful views of the Glenelly Estate. It is just as gorgeous in person, if not more so. But what I really love about the Glenelly wines is really that meeting of the beautiful French winemaking styles, but with South African terroir. So some pretty incredible expressions of Chardonnay as well as their Bordeaux style blends. But what I find particularly special of their Chardonnay is they don't have very much of it planted on the estate. So they have this beautiful 316 acre property, and only 15 acres of that is Chardonnay, and 150 acres is dedicated towards their different Bordeaux varietals. So it is just really a rare gem and a beautiful expression of Chardonnay, and has a great balance between a wonderful acidity, but also having some beautiful, vibrant citrus notes, as well as butterscotch, toasted almond, and just a little bit of oak as well. So all of the fruit from this particular wine is all from hand harvested fruit from the estate. And it was then transferred into French oak barrels, a mixture between new and second fill. So not overly oaky, just the right balance of oak, and all fermented naturally. So native ferments, very true to the terroir, and then aged on the lees for about 12 months to give it some fantastic texture. And the vintage, the 2019 vintage, you know, we had several back-to-back very dry, warm conditions, drought vintages, but producing some truly beautiful wines that, of course, are lower yielding. So not as much wine is made, but the wine that is made is much more dense in flavor, and just beautiful, beautiful expression of Chardonnay, this wine in particular. And something interesting as well about the winery, so they are all gravity flow as well. So they very much focus on minimal interventionist approach, and as well terroir driven is very much a theme across all of our wines today. And this is a beautiful photo of their cellar, you know, very gorgeous. They only use French oak with all of their wines. And seeing, you know, almost about a year of that lees aging time, giving it beautiful texture. We also have gotten some fantastic press with this Chardonnay every year, tend to get 90+ point scores. So this one got 90 points Venice, and just a fantastic go-to Chardonnay from a beautiful estate in South Africa, really truly marrying that French winemaking expertise with South African terroir.
Hope you guys enjoy the wine, and I'm looking at the chat box if any of you have any review comments or you know, just tasting notes that you want to share. I'd love to pop some of those out. But I really love the balance in this wine. It's got, you know, it's kind of got 1 foot in the old world, 1 foot in the new world. A little bit more fruit ripeness than, say, a French Chardonnay or Burgundy, or maybe I kind of like lean into Chablis with this wine a little bit, but it's a little riper, a little bit more generous, and it's got this really amazing perfume from the minerality, and I think it's got, you know, the acidity is just off the Richter scale, and this wine ages like a beast. I actually have both the 2019 and the 2014 on our website right now. There's just a little bit of 14 remaining, but anytime I can find this wine with a little bit more age on it, it's like finding Burgundy with some age on it. And it just is a delicious wine for about, I don't know, 15 years maybe. It's what I think that I would love to see this wine get out there, and I'm sure there's even a possibility for it to go longer, but they've only been making the wine since what was that, 02, 03, something like that?
03.
Yeah. So really
one other thing to mention about this wine is it's quickly becoming the best Chardonnay in South Africa, or definitely one of the best. Last year it was rated top 100 wines in the world. It was number 27. And we also import Philippe Collin, one of the top Burgundy producers out of Chassagne Montrachet, and it's definitely got a Chassagne-like feel to the wine. Like Ian said, a little more, you know, chiseled than Chassagne, but definitely blind. It could be Burgundy, and you're going to see this wine go up in price, unfortunately, in the next few years, just because it's limited. It's getting sold out. Till now, sell the wine, and there's a lot of demand for Chardonnay at this price that tastes like this. So get it now while it lasts.
Yeah. And again, it's from that 19 vintage, great concentration, probably, you know, these are the optimal conditions to make wines that last forever. So a really great vintage to grab some. And we have good stocks on this wine. And the rats, it's only the Baitin that we're going to be a little thin on for a little while, but we will get you some Baitin if you want it. All right. Greg's also sharing some information on the auction there. We've got some different wines. We put a little 3-pack on the auction, so if you want to give your instead of purchase some wine, you want to make a donation to the charity, you're going to get the wine anyway. So one of my philosophies is get in, bid, get outbid, raise some money from charity, and you didn't spend a penny. So if you can want to take advantage, there's a 3-pack right now. It's got a bottle of each wine, Baton, Rats, and Glenelly, and that was donated by our friends here at Cape Classic. So thank you guys. All right, we are going to continue, but before we do, I just wanted to check in with a couple of people and say hi. We've got people from all over California, but also a couple of people from outside California. Where's our friend from Florida? It's late there. Not sure if you want to come on and say hi, but we sent some wine to Florida. We've got our friend in Japan checking out the show tonight, and Japan, Florida, and Chino Hills, right, Jeff Costa Bravo?
You got it. Live and in person.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. San Diego, Lauren, how you doing, dude? Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, awesome. Everything's great down here. Good that you're hosting this. This is a fantastic night. Great wines.
Thank you. Jim Ramirez, you're up in Northridge area, right, Jim?
Correct, Porter Ranch. All's going well. I'm glad I had the time. Always an area I wanted to taste, and so thanks for putting together.
Thank you very much. Sue Green, you're in Los Alamitos. Is that close? Did I get that right? There you go. All right. Yeah, all right. Cool. And the Bergerons, are you in Utah? Did you smuggle that wine into Utah, Pierre, or are you in Gold Coast?
No, we're here in Newport Beach.
Cool. Thank you guys for joining us. Teresa, did you get your wine okay in the Tahunga?
I did. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm enjoying it a lot.
And Dr. Dave, were you working today? Did we find you at the hospital or over in Santa Monica?
I was working, but I'm home now. So enjoying the wine.
Excellent.
Got it on time. Thank you.
Fantastic, guys. How are things in the South Bay, Michelle Smith?
Yeah.
You good? You got some friends there that you want to say hi?
Yep, I'm sitting here with my friend Louise, who's joining me, and I've spoken about it so much I finally convinced her into doing this with me.
Lovely. Pleasure to meet you, Louise.
Thank you. Thanks for everything, Ian.
Pleasure, guys. We'll check in with the rest of you guys that are hiding behind your screens there a little bit later. But let's get back into our show, and we're moving into some red wines. Sean, do we want to go to the Terre Brûlée next?
Terre Brûlée, ideally. That would be great.
Let's do that. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm just going to put that up on our slideshow.
Fantastic.
Okay. I'm a big Dodger fan. Does anybody know the score?
I'll get back to you on that, Ian.
All right. I already know the Giants won again. They're never going to lose again. They're a damn good team. I just hate it when they beat the Dodgers. Sean, are you able to even watch baseball?
I mean, growing up, we didn't have any baseball. We had cricket, but I've been to the odd game, and I've been to the Dodgers, and I'm in San Diego now. So,
is there a little bit of a sadness in San Diego these days?
Not for me, to be honest, but well, maybe for some people.
The Padres have fallen from the sky. That's why I said that. They were very fun for the first half of the year, but they just Anyway, let's go to Terre Brûlée.
Okay, awesome. So how's it going, everyone? this is Tir Brûlée that we're chatting about now, and the man in the white shirt and the khaki shorts, his name is Vincent Krem. So Vincent was a smart man. He married a South African woman, and Vincent is from Vouvray in France. He's made Chenin Blanc his whole life. So since a teenager, he's been making Chenin Blanc. It's what he loves to do. It's really what he specializes in. So he married Tanya, who actually worked on the same winery, De Toren, which you'll be having later with me. She was the accountant, and I was the marketing manager. And he met her in South Africa, quickly fell in love with her, and then also fell in love with South Africa. And since then, he's been making wine in South Africa. So it works out quite well because harvest is the opposite time of the year. So harvest is around February, where in France it's September, October. So he flies down to South Africa. He makes wine in the Swartland. So you can see behind you, this is the Swartland. Swartland stands for black bush. And that bush comes from a bush they called Renosterbos, which translates to rhinoceros bush. There used to be rhinos in this area, and they used to eat this black shrub that was all over this area. So it was called Swartland, black land. As you can see, these vines are all bush vines. So there's no trellising. You can see they're growing straight out the ground. They're about 20 years old. The wine we're having tonight is not his Chenin Blanc, which I'd highly recommend you do try. It's actually his Rhone blend called Tir Brûlée Rouge, and it's 60% Shiraz, 40% Cinsault. The wine's bright, it's beautiful, it's lively, energetic. All his wines, he focuses on natural winemaking. A lot of the wine's organic, 20% whole cluster fermentation, all in steel tanks, so no oak on the wine. This is a wine I love drinking in the evenings just because it jumps out the glass. It's got freshness. It's alive. It's not heavy. You know, I think Ian said a great word in the chat group, and he said the wine, I think he said it vibrates with energy, or, you know, it has a great vibration. And it sounds a bit strange, but us wine people and geeks over the years, you look for wine that lifts you up as opposed to brings you down. And this is one of those wines where you feel energized, and it's an upper as opposed to a downer. And now we'll have Tanya Krem, Vincent's wife, say a few words about the winery and her thoughts.
And just before I press play, this wine sells for less than $15. This is a killer little, I don't know, Côte d'Aron style replacement. It's just a great daily red. And we opened these wines on Monday night to pour the kits to get them out. So these wines have been open for 24 to 48 hours in the decantation, and mine is just so beautiful in the way it's polished up with they do start off a little bit more earth, mineral, and that fruit just continues to come forward. And that's what, when you buy a bottle of wine for $15 and it's better on day two, that's a pretty big statement right there. So,
hello, I'm Tanya Karim from Tir Brûlée Wines and also from Vouvray in France. Vincent and I have the very great opportunity of making wine on 2 continents and making the best grape variety in the world, which is of course Chenin Blanc. But that's not what we're here for today. Today I'm going to be talking to you about our one and only red wine, which is made in the Swartland in South Africa. So we're going to be talking about Tir Brûlée. We started making this wine in 2015, but the project of making wine in South Africa actually started in 2013 already. And I have to go back to Chenin Blanc because that's where it all began. Vincent started making wine in 1999 as Domaine Vincent Carême. Well, that's not strictly true. He made his first wine at the age of 14 with his grandfather already. But in 1999, he started up Domaine Vincent Carême in France, in Vouvray in the Loire Valley, where we only make white wines. But it had always been his dream to also make Chenin Blanc in South Africa. So in 2013, we got the opportunity to work with some fantastic partners in the Swartland. So we don't own the land, but we get access to the same grapes, to the same blocks every year. And we started our Tir Brûlée project making a 100% Chenin Blanc. But this was not enough. Vincent had also always dreamed about making a red wine. And as you can all tell, I am South African. So this project also allowed us to frequently visit my home country where my family and my roots are. So Vincent then started delving into red and decided in 2015 it was the right opportunity to start making a red wine. He very much likes red wines in sort of the Northern Rhone style. So what you're going to be having tonight is our 2018 Tabernet, which is a 60% Shiraz and 40% Cinsault blend. Now, this is not by accident. It's also because in doing the blending of having these two varieties in different percentages, we found that the Shiraz adds a lovely structure and spiciness, whereas the Cinsault brings a wonderful fruitiness to the wine. Hence, we almost every vintage have a more or less 60-40 relationship between these two varieties. There are obviously logistical challenges, and people ask us, how can we make wine on two such vastly different continents? Firstly, as you can tell, and as I've mentioned already, I'm South African, so it gave us the opportunity to work with many people that I'd known for a very long time from university days, because although my background isn't strictly in wine, it was always a love of mine from a very young age. I grew up in Constantia, which is the oldest wine region in South Africa, drinking wine at table, and this love of wine went straight through to university, where I did business studies, but ended up being the chairperson of Stellenbosch University's Wine Society. So we share, although I'm not a winemaker, this is a great love that Vincent and I share, and a project that has really united us through the South Africa-France connection. So harvest in South Africa for our red wine is normally in February, and harvest in France is in September, October, depending on the climate. In February in France, it's normally pruning season in the vineyard. So this gives Vincent the opportunity to get away after he has done a lot of pruning himself, and we've got a very good team of workers that support him, and to go to South Africa for 3 to 4 weeks in February every year to be there for the harvest of our Chenin Blanc and our red wine. Our philosophy for making this wine is very much the same as what we have in France. We try to do a minimum intervention. We don't work the wine very hard in the cellar. We did 20% whole bunch pressing, and the wine is blended only just before bottling. So we have the two elements maturing separately. I would suggest, in France, we always love doing food and wine pairings. This wine, because it's not too overpowering, it keeps a lot of freshness, is great even with some of your maybe lighter dishes where people always want to have red wine with sort of very heavy meaty dishes. You can try this with some of vegetarian stir fries, maybe if you are into meat, some of your, in France we make a very nice duck à l'orange, canard à l'orange, something slightly spicy or sweet and sour, some Asiatic dishes. So I also challenge you to be a little bit more adventurous in your food and wine pairing, and not just to go for the classic white meat, red meat, or starter or main course. This is something we play around with a lot in France, and pairing this with different kind of food varieties, which is very interesting. I hope you have a wonderful tasting tonight. Thank you very much for the opportunity of having my wine and tasting my wine. And I hope to see you all in France or South Africa sometime soon. Hello.
All right. So we are tasting this 2018, and like I said, for the group tonight, this wine will be less than $15 a bottle, and I really just think it's a delicious, spicy, spiced plum skin, and it's got just amazing vibration and minerality, but good texture and good weight. At that price point, you're getting a lot more wine here, $15, than I think you'd expect. Any comments about the wine? Beautiful pictures here. Is this Swartland here?
Yeah, this is the Swartland, so super hot. It's quite dry. Definitely good for sort of Rhone varietals, as you can see. So all bush vines, no irrigation there.
And they're just growing in sand up here, right?
Yep.
Crazy. That's some stress right there.
That's some stress there. You can see the bush vines are nice and gnarled. Those are Chenin Blanc vines, but yeah.
Awesome. And a 90-point Wine Advocate score just to top it off.
Yeah, I always think this is a great kind of bistro wine. You know, pop it open, have it with some nice sort of cured meats, a lot of kind of richer dinner meals, but those kind of French bistro wines that are so great.
For sure. Awesome with barbecue.
Yep.
What's that little South African deer that they have everywhere?
There's quite a few different. So there's Duiker, Eland, Springbok, quite a few different antelope.
They eat them all, right?
Yeah, it's called biltong. We make it's like a jerky, South African jerky. I've got some at home right now.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Look at that.
So this is Cape Town, as you can see. Spectacular photos. Cape Point to the bottom right, Stellenbosch top right. These are the Cape Flats. Truly spectacular.
What part of South Africa were you born in or raised in, Sean?
I was born in Durban, which is the East Coast, so subtropical, where Cape Town is a little more Mediterranean climate.
Here's my little Stars of Merlot ad built in. My team is making me market a little bit more these days. And we do have a little contest going on. That's right, I'm supposed to mention this. If you post in your social media, maybe you have Instagram, maybe you have Facebook, and you use our little Stars of Wine thing, we're gonna find you. And the person who does the best job with the post is gonna get a free kit to join us for Stars of Merlot. So all you gotta do is take a little fun picture. Maybe it's of your little wine set or whatever, and tell your friends that you did this event tonight, and we'll send you a little kit for Stars of Merlot with our compliments. All right, I'm going to leave the show just for a second and check in with Kent. I saw your name on there. Are you in Florida, or where are you tonight, Kent? Are you out there? Ken has been involved in a lot of our shows, but he's on either in the East Coast or I think I can't remember if it's Iowa or Idaho. I think it's Iowa. Mary Grace, you're in Santa Monica. Hope you're having a good time. Greg, how's the auction doing?
There it is. It's doing good. We have a bid so far. Thank you, Lauren, for bidding. And like we said, it runs all through tonight and it ends tomorrow at 9 p.m. We have 14 items up for bid, not just wine. The wine is available for delivery. Ian has it in his offices there. And all the other items are free. Once you bid, we'll ship it to you free of charge.
And our top bidder for the last year is not on the Zoom tonight, but she's going to watch this video later. So yeah. That's why we'll keep it open for a little while. But Lisa Tess has been cleaning up at these auctions. And
yeah. So that's important too. You know, it's available to people if you're not on this auction. If you know somebody that loves great wine, if you know somebody that needs a great gift, you know, send them the link, you know, let them bid and spread the word.
Far out. All right. Well, we will now go into we're going to go to our, let me see if I can get to that slide. Sorry, guys. going to go to Kanunkup and taste some Pinotage.
Right, I can start speaking on Kanonkop in the meantime.
Far out.
So Kanonkop means cannon on the hill in Dutch, and this is one of South Africa's most famous wineries. It's really regarded as the first growth of South Africa, if there was such a thing. It means cannon on the hill, and in the 1800s, they used to have cannons on the actual mountains in Stellenbosch. So as you can see, those are the mountains. They would have cannons and they would shoot them off to let the people know in Stellenbosch that they could go trade with the ships coming in from Europe. So they would shoot the cannons off the mountains. The people would run in with fruits, vegetables, wine, animals, whatever they traded in those days, and trade with the Europeans coming into town. So as you can see, this is the back of the Simonsberg, which is actually around the corner from Glenelly. So really very much in the same sort of area within Stellenbosch. The wine that you'll be tasting today is Kanonkop Pinotage. So Pinotage is South Africa's unique varietal. It's only really found in South Africa, and it was invented in South Africa in the 1920s. And what it is a cross between Cinsault and Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir wasn't growing very well in South Africa because the skins are thin. It's very hot in South Africa, so the skins were burning. So what they did is they took Cinsault from the south of France, which is a thick-skinned grape, and they said, let's cross these grapes to make a Pinot Noir that can grow. Obviously, it tasted very different to Pinot Noir when it came out, but became a local favorite in South Africa and has quickly progressed to being, you know, a incredibly unique wine. Kanonkop makes arguably the best Pinotage in South Africa. It's really the Rolls Royce, and you know, the joke is always, if you don't like this Pinotage, probably don't drink Pinotage, because this is definitely as good as it gets for the varietal, as you'll taste now. The wine's silky, plum, cherry. It's got great backbone structure. This wine does incredibly well at wine dinners that I've done and different tastings. And now we'll get Aubrey Beslaar, who's the winemaker, to speak a little bit on the wine. He's one of South Africa's most famous and most heralded winemakers.
How long has he been with Kanonkop?
He's been there over 10 years, maybe even 15. He's definitely been there quite a while.
And I will say too, they make two different versions, and tonight we're tasting, is this the top one, or is there one higher?
Yeah, this is the top Pinotage, so it's estate, you know, 40 to 60-year-old vines. These are some of the oldest commercial Pinotage vines in South Africa.
Good morning. My name is Aubrey Beslaar. I'm from Kanonkop Wine Estate, and today I'm going to talk to you about our winery and our history a little bit, and then also about this wine, the Pinotage 2018. So Kanonkop is one of the older wine estates in South Africa. So we've been around for more than 100 years. The family that owns it, the Kriege now, and previously Sauer family, has been handing it down for about close to 5 generations now, almost the 5th generation coming in to run the property. So today we are about 140 hectares big. It used to be a much bigger property, but since 1930 it is only 140 hectares big. We focus on red wine production with a focus on Cabernet and Pinotage and Merlot specifically, with a bit of Cabernet Franc and also a bit of Merlot. So we are all, or mainly dryland vineyards. All our Pinotages are grown in bush vines. It is low yielding vineyards where the altitude of our property goes from 200 meters to up to 350 meters. We're about 30 kilometers from the ocean. And yeah, so the focus has always been, or mainly been, red wine production. Over the years, we've also tried different varieties like Shiraz, Pinot Noir, Chenin Blanc, Chardonnay, all different types of varieties, and realized that the grapes that does consistently better is the Pinotage and Cabernet fruit from this farm. In South Africa, you're allowed to plant any variety anywhere, so it takes a bit of time to really zoom in and focus on what works better for your specific property. So today we produce close to 3 million bottles in total. But this specific wine, the Canon Pinotage 2018, is only about 12,000 cases of 6. This specific wine comes from, half this wine comes from vineyards older than 50 years, dryland bush wines, and the other wine comes from vineyard about 20 years old. They're planted next to each other on a southeastern facing slope. The grapes are all hand-picked on the property. It's brought to the winery in 500 kilogram crates, and then it goes through quite a rigorous sorting system of first mechanical sorting and then afterwards also optical sorting. Then it goes into open top fermenters like concrete fermenter that we use. Just 1 second, we wait for the tractor to pass. There we go. Yeah, so it goes into 10-ton open concrete fermenters, and I think this is also an important part of the Kanonkop style, is the way that we ferment our wine. We do 2 hourly punch downs, 24 hours a day for about 3 days, and in that period we get maximum extraction, but also at the right time. That means a lot of extraction in the beginning of the fermentation and less extraction at the end of fermentation. So you just tractor again. And yeah, at the end of fermentation. So that gives you a wine with a lot of structure, but quite a balanced and elegant finish. We want our dry finish on our wines because we want our wines to have have the salivating, give that salivating effect. That means when you're having a glass of wine, you also want to have some food with it. Pinotage specifically goes well with a wide range of dishes and even mild curries, which is quite interesting. I think for red varieties, this is one of the few that I know that goes well with spicy food. You'll have when you taste the wine, you'll see there's a lot of dark flavors on the nose, meaning more plum and blackcurrant notes, together with some chocolate, dark chocolate that comes mainly from the wood. Then it has quite a refreshing palate with different layers of spices, again fruit, red and black fruit on the palate, and then you have this long, elegant finish that's still dry, but dry in a positive sense. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the wine, and yeah, you can find more information on our website, Kanonkop's website, and yeah, enjoy it. Thank you for listening to me. Cheers.
It's drinking so good. And I really love the concentration here. It's just coming in layer after layer after layer. It's just really wound nicely and densely and richly, but there's nothing hard or tannic, or it's so polished and so, like you said, it's like first growth. I mean, it's just got so much really nice dense richness to it. So this is a wine that could change some minds, and really it is kind of the ambassador for South African Pinotage.
Yeah, it's the Iron Fist and the Velvet Glove. You've got that velvet outer layer, silkiness, but that kind of iron core to the wine. This wine also ages incredibly well. I've done a vertical tasting with the winemaker in DC back in 2010, and we went back to 1999 Pinotage and was drinking absolutely beautifully, very similar to old Burgundy.
So fun.
So there you can see the fruit off the farm. 2018 was warm and dry. As Ian said, we've had quite a few droughts lately in South Africa. It did get pretty dire a few years ago, but luckily we have had some rain. But every year it's similar to California, where there are worries about fire, and drought is constantly an issue.
And they still make this in these large open concrete fermenters that are basically kind of the same way they've been doing it since the 1700s, right, Sean?
Yeah, super cool old school winemaking here. This isn't a super high tech cellar. You go into these kind of new cellars where everything's computerized and digitized, where this is old school. The great grandfather measured the cellar tanks from Burgundy. Everything's open. They ferment very quickly and quite kind of adventurously. Here we go. You can see the cellar. So this wine always gets great ratings, as you can see, 93 Vinous, 92 Spectator. It's a wine that you can age. All the wines from Canon Corp would highly recommend the Paul Sour, which is their top end wine. It's a Bordeaux blend. It was the first ever 100-point wine from South Africa. They also have a straight cab, and then they have the Cadet range, which is a more value range, which is around the $20 price point.
Forgot to spit that out.
It's about time when you don't need to spit it out. It's nearly 8:30. So
that's right. My brain is telling me that too.
So the next winery is De Toren. So this is a winery that's really near and dear to my heart. I used to work here back in 2013 to 2015. I was the export manager, marketing manager. And as you can see in the background there's a tower. De Toren means the tower in Dutch. And this was the first gravity feed cellar in South Africa. Everything is done meticulously, super high attention to detail. They make two wines, super focused, a right bank and left bank Bordeaux blend. We're going to taste the left bank cab dominated Bordeaux blend. It was the first wine to ever receive 90 points in its maiden vintage from Parker, from South Africa. First 5 varietal Bordeaux blend. And you'll see Charles now, who's a good friend of mine, walk through the winemaking process, and he's incredibly detailed. So I'll let him go.
Sean, before we play this one, I want to explain we are in a bit of a vintage shift here.
Yep.
I have a little bit of 16 in stock. That's what we're tasting tonight. The very heralded 17 vintage is coming in as well. So we have that, actually. I think it's arrived and it's on the website also. So you can pick 16 or 17. If you had a preference, Sean, is there a vintage that you'd want to, have in your cellar?
I would go 17. I mean, De Toren does it great every year, but 17 is one of the best of all time in South Africa. Similar to 15, it was an amazing vintage.
So if you like what you're having tonight, the 16, and you want some more, we have another case being brought in for us, and so we'll have both 16 and 17. But this is a kind of a wine that's, again, kind of like a trophy, and I want you to think of it, how good it is, and then look at the price of this wine. This is our most expensive wine of the evening, but it is just a total performer, and fights with wines that are way over $100 a bottle. They went to town.
Welcome to the Toren Private Cellar. I'm Charles Williams. I'm the cellar master here. Please join me for a private tasting where we will briefly discuss the history of our farm. Then we'll go to my favorite place, the vineyards, where we will cover a little bit of the topic of organic farming, as well as all the little techniques that we use to guide the berries and the vines to actually become the best they can possibly be. Then we'll follow the path of the grape all the way into the cellar, where we will gently guide it towards the sumptuous wine that you always find in the glass when enjoying the glass of the Toren. We, as Toren, frame ourselves on being the first winery in South Africa to introduce a full 5-variety Bordeaux blend, red Bordeaux blend, of course, which simply means that you utilize all the varieties that you are able to plant in Bordeaux, France, namely Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Malbec, and Petit Verdot. We express the different portions of our farm, the different aspects essentially, the different soil types, in 5 different wines, all of them here behind me. So the Toren Delicat, Fusion 5, the Turin Z, and the two wines on top, Book 17 and the Black Diamond.
He took his video
Welcome to the
seriously.
vineyards. As I mentioned, this is my absolute favorite place in the world. So maybe let's first just look at geology. So where we're standing at the moment, it's something called the Kales River Pluton. So that's just a modeler material on which we are standing, which is about 450 million years old. And I always, when I'm standing right here, I almost get this overwhelming sense of just being fortunate enough to be a little speck of history in that period of time. So the Turin actually got founded not on the purpose of actually to start make wine. It was a very serendipitous series of events that took place that helped us to realize that where we are standing, the area lends itself to making quality red wine. Two of the factors that really influence this is the ocean breeze, which I will discuss in a moment, and then the complexity of our soils. Now, like I mentioned, our soils is around about 450 million years old. If you come a little bit closer to the surface, you'll find up to as much as 15 different soil types, which we farm on. So all of these have just got slight variations of what they will lend towards the crop growing on it. And that's actually where the 5 variety Bordeaux blend took hold. When we analyzed each of these individual soil types, we saw that different varieties would really thrive on them. So for instance, if you've got a little bit of a stronger soil type, like oak leaf, something like Petit Verdot will really flourish there. For Malbec, you need a much poorer soil type, something like Sterkspreid. And Cabernet, you want a little bit more rock fragment. For Merlot, you want a little bit more clay fragment. So once we did all the analysis on our soil, we said, what varieties will fit on there? One of the 5 Bordeaux varieties actually ticked the box. And that's where the light went on, and we say, we are in that area where we can make brilliant red wines. The sea breeze will hugely help us in that influence. We do have the soils to accommodate each of these wines. And that's what we said. Let's take that concept from Bordeaux, which is hugely successful. Let's put it on South African soils and let's express it in the South African way. And I think that's what we've been able to do hugely successful over the past 20 years. Vision for our wines is to make wines that really reflect the soils, and it must really reflect what you see here behind me. And that's what we do through the blend. So essentially on our farm of 21 hectares, we've got an area that's west facing and an area that's south facing. So the south facing vineyards are here behind me, all facing the False Bay in the background. The west facing vineyards face Table Mountain from where I'm standing at the moment. So just by looking at the aspect, you're going to have 2 very distinguished vineyards. The south facing one for us here in the southern hemisphere will get the least sun. The west facing, of course, the most sun. And what we're going to express in the 2 wines, the Fusion 5, which is coming from the west facing vineyard, is that little bit darker fruit, a little bit more volume, exactly what the site will actually give you. And we do that through a left bank Bordeaux style wine, dominated by Cabernet Sauvignon, big portion of Malbec, and then smaller portions of Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. So 3 years ago, we started this amazing quest to actually become organic growers. We've always been sustainable farmers. We've always really had a lot of respect for our soils, for our vines, and in the past, we really tried to work as consciously as possible. 3 years ago, we actually just said, let's take this leap of faith. Through a whole lot of research, we said that it's really possible. So let's convert our farm to organic growing practices, 100%. So we've been in the process, it's called in conversion to organics for the past 3 years. 1st of December 2019, we were actually granted organic status. Which is hugely exciting. So for me, it's a quest that's come through a whole couple of years of thinking about it, a lot of things starting to make a little bit more sense. And when you look at it, growing grapes is taking a piece of land that would have been nature, essentially, and putting a commercial crop on it. So what a lot of farmers tend to do is they say, okay, now we're farming grapes, and that's what we do. You create a monoculture in your vineyards, and what we're trying to create through our organic farming practices to say, but okay, we're coexisting. Yes, we are grape farmers, but in the same time, we're also farming on a piece of nature, which we want to be as representative as possible to what nature would have done naturally. So organic farming is for me actually a concept. I can go into a lot of detail. I love this stuff, so I can really keep you busy for 2 days just talking about organic farming. But essentially it comes down to a concept, and I always describe it as a concept that we can actually very easily grasp: human health. So 20 years ago, I think a lot of people were much more in a fast food culture. So we ate a lot of fast foods, we drank a lot of Coke, a lot of sugary drinks, didn't necessarily go to gym that often. So what you do is when you become sick, you go to the doctor. That time in our history, the doctors were, I think, also a little bit more lenient towards just giving you antibiotics and fixing you up. So you were actually treating a symptom the whole time. With organic farming, we go the other route. We actually say, let's not eat fast food 3-4 times a week. Let's actually completely stay away from it. Let's eat salad even every now and again, maybe even a little bit of vegetables. Let's drink some vitamins in the morning. Let's take the dog for a run every 2 or 3 days. And what you're doing through these lifestyle practices is you're actually growing an immune system. And that's exactly what organic practices is. So what we're doing is we're applying a lot of detailed practices towards the soil. So that's introducing compost. It's introducing very specific cover crops that would naturally have been here. It's introducing a lot of native microbes back into the soil so that the soil actually starts building an immune system. Once you do that, that immune system will infiltrate back into the plant, and eventually it will infiltrate back into the grape. And what we've already started seeing, only 3 years down the line, is berries with a lot more resilience, berries with a little bit more vibrancy, a little bit more depth, a little bit more complexity, which is amazing because of that. Now we say, okay, dandelion would be the preferred host of something like mealybug, something that we consider a pest in the vineyard. So in the past, take away the host, and the mealybug had to come and live on your vine to survive. By now just keeping this very simple weed, we're actually solving 2 problems. You're getting nature back to where it should be, and you're also keeping the host for the mealybug. So they're actually going to stay in the soil as opposed to your vines where they are a problem. So it's a really amazing journey. We can't wait to see where it takes us in the future.
So what did you think of the wine, guys? All 5 Bordeaux varieties in the blend. And Sean, you had the responsibility of working here before.
Yeah, I was the marketing manager. The owner, exceptional attention to detail. His philosophy was always, he used to say, gently, gently, softly, and more gently. So from how he picks the grapes to how it was fermented, everything was about extreme care. And he believed that if you treat the grapes with respect and care, it gives you beautiful wine. I think you can taste this in the wine. It's powerful but elegant and feminine, luscious, silky. It's definitely one of South Africa's best red wines, and a wine that's going to age also 10, 15 years at least.
You've never seen a pot.
Drinking great. It mentions here that pH levels were relatively low, and good acids characterized the vintage. That's the 16 that we're trying.
And this is the vineyard, as you can see. It's incredible. It looks at the ocean. So where those clouds end there, that's False Bay. So if you've seen Shark Week and you see the shark take the seal out the air, that's where that's filmed. And I used to do tastings in this vineyard all the time. Also, as you can see, the vines are planted at a 45-degree angle to the slope, which is also not normal. Normally you see them planted horizontally or vertically. The reason that it's at a 45-degree angle is because this is the predominant wind in the afternoon, southeasterly wind. So the hot air rises off the land, sucks in the cold air off the ocean. And what this does is it creates an air conditioner in the vineyard. So the air the air blows up this vineyard. And often middle of summer in the afternoon, I would have to wear a jacket for tastings because you got that cool breeze coming up from the ocean, which is great for winemaking, especially in South Africa where it's often hot.
Wow.
As you can see, here's the barrel room. When I was there, we did barrel room tasting every Monday. We would taste 40 barrels. So quite a process after normally quite a boozy weekend. I would start a Monday morning off tasting 40 barrels, but always fun because they match different varieties, different barrels to different forests in France. They're very specific on how they did that. So it was always cool to see.
And a pretty serious commitment to refined wood, 50% new, 50% second fill. That's a 2-year wood program. So, nothing went into this wine that was older than that. That's why you've got that wonderful texture from that expensive wood element.
Yep. And there it is. There's the breakdown. It changes slightly every year. So it's actually quite cool at Tutorin. Every year they'll make slightly different percentages of the varieties and do blind tasting tests with sommeliers, press, people in the industry, and do this a number of times across South Africa. When I was there, we actually took it worldwide and did a tasting in Amsterdam with a famous Michelin star chef, and basically decided on the blend that evening. So everyone would taste blind and decide what blend they like best, and then we would bottle that wine. So quite cool. Some years you'll get quite a bit more Cab Franc, some years more Malbec. It is always Cab dominated though.
That doesn't look right.
No, that's not still
I think we're done.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the time. And, as Ian mentioned, South Africa has been through a tough time with COVID and these lockdowns and, multiple waves. So we really do appreciate you drinking our wines. As you can taste, they are some incredible values. They can compete on a world stage. Always fun to bring to a dinner party because most people haven't had them. Wine like Tutorin can stand up to some of the best wines in the world, and bring it blind, don't tell people what it is, and then ask them to guess. It's always fun.
Well, Teal and Sean, we thank you for all the work. We've been working on this project for, about 3 months or so, and the world has been moving around and things have been happening, but you guys held it together for us, so we thank you. The wines are just so beautiful. You'll see amazing pricing on the website. It's being loaded in right now. You've all each been emailed a little look at a couple of things. The email went out at 8 o'clock, so we're running a little bit long, and I apologize, but we always run a little bit long. But take a look at the email. You don't have to have the email to get the pricing. The pricing will be good for 24 hours. So by midnight tomorrow is when I take and change that pricing, and it'll go back to regular retails, which aren't too far away from where we're at. And when I say regular retails, I mean our regular retails, which are pretty aggressive. But the pricing that you're going to see on our website tonight is absolutely thin margins for us, and we're just trying to help sell some wine for the importer who's been generous with giving us their time and their efforts. So we want to reward them. And if you guys like the wines, take a nice stockpile. You got the holidays coming up, and these wines are overperformers. Just to kind of recap some of the prices you're going to be seeing tonight. Let's see. The Bayton is now at $13.79. The Rat is now at $12.95. The Glenelly Chardonnay. By the way, the Bayton's supposed to be somewhere around $16-18. The Rat's somewhere 15 to 17. The Glenelly somewhere around 25, but tonight it's $19.95. The Terre Brûlée $14.79. The Canin Coupe, which is MSRP $50, is $39.95, and the de Torin we're going to determine that price here in just 10 seconds. I got to use a calculator. But it's supposed to be somewhere in the 60s. It'll be down somewhere in the mid 50s. So if you guys want any of those wines, please jump on them and grab them in the next day. You don't have to buy them tonight, but it's always better when you're a little buzzed. It takes the pain away. So enjoy the wines, everybody. And Sean and Teal, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it, and hope you enjoyed the wines.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it.
Take care,
Good
folks.
evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Check out our new Zoom into Wine calendar. We just announced some really amazing events today, and they're all going up onto the website as we speak. And let's see if they're done. I want to take you there if I can. I know a couple of people saw them today, because we started selling some tickets. We haven't started promoting them yet, but next week is our Brunello di Montalcino review, 14, 15, 16. Awesome producers, top quality. And then we're going into Sancerre. And a lot of our programs are really, we've taken a different angle with our programs. $30 for Brunello, $20 for Sancerre. Then we're doing a dinner. And this is our first vaccinated people only type of dinner event, because the restaurant's requiring it. And so will all of LA very soon. So we're expecting by the time of this event, it'll be a vaccination only environment indoors at restaurants in Los Angeles. And so we've got this amazing dinner with Sal Marino at Marino's Restaurant. You can also have it delivered to your home. It's our blind wine Italian dinner, 15 wines.
Wow.
All served blind. Marscarello, Conterno, Sasette, Permatali, Cabretta, Bindi Serengardi, Aldo Conterno, Giacomo Grimaldi, and the white wines too. So we have a lot of fun. It's 5-6 courses, and there's only 20 people for the dinner live, and then we can send out the food for delivery. It's hard to get it to San Diego, but maybe you want to come north, buddy. That's a big effort that we're putting out there. Then our next STARS event is New Zealand, Australia, California. And I'll just give you a little peek on that one, because the wineries are going to be exceptional. Oh, we haven't announced the two others yet, so they're not there. But they're going to be Saracen and Lewin. Helping us out on this event. So really, really top wines there. Then we're going to do a Pinot taste-off, and we're going to do it on Zoom as well. And that's going to be a challenge for us, because it's going to be California versus Oregon versus the imports. So 12 wines. That's 12 jars. Do you know how much work that is? We will be packaging up the Pinot Noirs, top quality Pinots, and doing them blind, 3 at a time. And it's going to be a lot of fun. $69, it's a total deal. All the wines are awesome, and we're going to see if you can figure out on each flight which one's from California, which one's from Oregon, which one's the import, and then we'll pick a favorite over the course of the night. It's a lot of jars. Let me just tell you that. Then we've got our events coming up in October, which are Portugal. We've got a outdoor event, which is cool, with the LA Magazine, and there's a discount code that goes into effect October 1st, but you can buy the tickets right now. They're available, no discount code. You're going to get the same price, but the advanced ticket price is up on the website. But if you don't know what you're doing and October 1st comes around, you can grab tickets with us. Just ask me for the discount code. I'll get it to you. But this event should be a massive sellout. It's a huge campus, 30 restaurants, 20 wineries. Click on the event, you'll learn all about it. And then our future events are posted. Our Piedmont trip is technically sold out. We added a week in Tuscany. If you want to do both, that's how you can get into Piedmont, because we can still make that happen. But Tuscany is now available to look at, and you can see all the details on my Learn About Wine site. All that we're doing when we go to Tuscany, including hanging out with Dario Cicchini and a day at Masetto with Sesakaya. All right, that's it for the show. I know a lot of you've had to go because we're running so late, but I want to thank you all again. Have a good night, everybody. And peace, we're out.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Bye, guys. Thank
See
you.
you soon.
Thank you all.